Good morning, 7 East. Happy Friday, people. It's Mr. LEPRE here on this Friday edition of Free LEPRE Radio. It is our 28th episode. We're almost at 30. I cannot believe we've actually gone that far. I didn't plan on doing so many of these because I thought we'd be back in school by now. But since we're not, it looks like we're going to continue. I don't even know what number we're going to hit by the end of the year, depending on when we go back and if we go back. We'll see. We are on the air, and our agenda today, or objectives, I can't decide what I want to do. Objectives or agenda, I alternate back and forth. First, we have audience Q&A. First time in a long time since we've done that, since we have a lot of questions today. Audience Q&A, first part of the show. Second item on our agenda is Manifest Destiny. You might be wondering what that is. Well, it's probably the most important term from Unit 7, and you better remember it for next year because you really need to know it in 8th grade, especially at the beginning of the year. And then 3, our fun segment of the day, memes of the day, 3 quarantine-themed memes for you on this Friday. As a reminder, you have the assignment on the Mexican-American War, which is technically due Monday. I sent it on Thursday. You have 2 days, so I give you till Monday to finish it. You'll need to use the video clip for it. Please tell me if you have any issues with the video. So our calendar for the week, we are now at Friday, May 1st. I can't believe it's May already. May and June, final 2 months of the year. So our review of the Mexican-American War is what we're going to do today as a content portion. Also talk about how America gets Oregon. There's a Google Meet today at 12:30 as well. And Mega Gimkit 8 at 2, which I'll talk more about in a second. But first, audience Q&A. I heard there was a change that we don't have to attend one Google Meet a week. Is that true? Yes, the meets are not mandatory. That was changed. That was supposed to be a new rule, but it got reversed because people found it difficult. So they are not mandatory. Can you still post the quizzes that we are missing, just not graded, so we can see what we would have gotten? Yes, absolutely. That's a great idea. As an optional challenge, I'm going to transfer the paper tests I had for Units 5 and 6 into digital Google Forms, which you can take to test yourself to see how well you would have done in school. Remember, I told you how Unit 5 was probably the most difficult test. Maybe Unit 6 is right after. Now you have a chance to see how you would have done if we actually took those tests. This is optional. And I'll post both of them next week, probably on a day when I don't give an assignment so I don't confuse anybody. I got to take the tests, though, because they're all on paper, and now I need to type in all the questions and answers online. It might take me a while to do that, so I'll do that over the weekend, and I'll probably have them Tuesday or Wednesday if you want to take those optional challenges. When is my birthday? I mentioned that I like the number 27 because I was born on the 27th day of a month. Well, it was the 27th day of August. One of those birthdays right before school. It's either good or bad. You get to celebrate and then go to school, or you get to celebrate at the end of the summer. I don't know if it's good or bad. I've honestly haven't enjoyed having my birthday right before school, but it is what it is. It's better than being in the middle of school, I guess. Question. When you say Texas was annexed into the U.S., do you mean the U.S. came to Texas and said you're part of America, or did Texas ask to be accepted and we said, sure, come right in? The U.S. basically said, you're with us now. So Texas, even if they wanted a choice, Texas didn't have one. U.S. basically just says, you're part of us now. But the thing was, as it happens, most Texans wanted to join the U.S. anyway. And there was a lot of support in the U.S. to make Texas a state. So after they became a U.S. possession, they voted on it, and they made it official, and Texas became a state in the United States. So annexing usually has like a very bad taste to it. When you hear it used in other places in history, it usually means people just took land. But in this case, people in Texas just kind of wanted to join the U.S. anyway, so it was kind of like a peaceful and requested annexation that they approved afterwards with a vote. More of a comment, but Davy Crockett plus Jim Bowie equals David Bowie. Yes, that is amazing math, and apparently does work. We have our Davy Crockett here, famous frontiersman and pioneer, Jim Bowie, inventor of the Bowie knife. And then we have David Bowie, rock star, recently deceased. Some good songs, many good songs. Cat People, my favorite. Space Oddity seems to be most of everyone else's favorite. But yes, thank you for that. It was Nick, I think. I love the reference. Question, is there going to be a big Mega Gimkit results thing soon on the radio show? Well, funny you should ask, because that's coming up next. There we go. NFL Fox on Sunday theme music. Haven't done these in a while. but now I'm kind of re-energizing Gimkit. And the past 6 Gimkits have been won by the same person. So Niles is a 6-time champion on Mega Gimkits 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Jack won the first one. We have Mega Gimkit 8 coming up today. Right here we have the poster for it. May 1st, the 8th Gimkit. And our Mega Gimkit series is going to be on everything from this week in Unit 7. And it is going to be from 2 o'clock to 2:30, half hour. There are always prizes. The prizes now, I have to reduce them because I'm owed too much. It's going to be 5 pieces for first place, 4 for second, 3 for third, 2 for fourth, and then 1 for the remaining spots until 10. The cutoff is 10. So Mega Gimkit 8, May 1st, 2020, that is today, 2 o'clock to 2:30. I'll post the code 10 minutes beforehand. Be there. Now for Manifest Destiny, our content for the day. Manifest Destiny, very closely related to the Mexican-American War. And before I get into what that word actually means, let's talk about the Mexican-American War. So for your assignment and those questions you did in the Google form based on the video, it only really went over a small part of the Mexican-American War. If you're looking at the map, it really only went over the stuff that happened in California. And you can see from here, there's a lot of movement going on. You can see up top you have the Fremont expedition, and then down below you have the whole thing with Kit Carson and General Kearney going across Southern California and fighting. But there's a whole other section of this war that takes place that the video didn't really go into because that video is more about California and how the U.S. added California. But the war does not end until the United States actually invades Mexico and occupies Mexico City, which it eventually does. And here, this is a painting in 1848 of the United States Army in Mexico City. And at this point, Mexico had not recovered from their war for independence with Spain. And America just took advantage of that. And they were able to win this war in a relatively short amount of time. This would kind of be like if we went to war with someone 20 years after the Revolutionary War. And we kind of actually almost had that War of 1812, even though it was a little bit longer. And we were not exactly prepared for that either. But in this case, the U.S. wins this war. And my final question from the assignment was this. I was curious to hear what you all said, and I got some interesting answers. Would you have been for the war or against the war? This is one of people will call it a controversial war in American history. People, they think, you know what, should we have fought this war? I don't know. They have pros and cons about it. And you all had some very interesting answers. A lot of you said yes because it was good for the country, but most of you actually opposed it, saying, you know, it made no sense because we had just gotten all this land. Some of you expressed like some doubts about like how morally right it was because it seemed like everything was being done to kind of steal this land from underneath Mexico's feet. But just to give you some historical perspective, most American officials at the time supported the war against Mexico, but there were some exceptions. So there were a few standout people who actually got up and protested and were against the war. One of them was Abraham Lincoln, future president. He was a member of Congress at the time, and he was an outspoken opponent of the war. He thought it wasn't right or unjust to the United States to just be having this war basically for land. Also, notable opponent, Ulysses S. Grant. He was an American Civil War general. He actually fought in the Mexican-American War. And he's a future president as well, on the $50 bill and our 18th president. And this is a famous quote from him. He said regarding the war, to this day, I to this day regard the war against Mexico as one of the most unjust ever waged by a stronger against a weaker nation. So he was not happy with the America's participation in the war, even though he fought in it. Just to show you some perspective that even at the time when most Americans were for the war, there were some very notable exceptions, including 2 future presidents who were against it. They thought it wasn't right for America, this country that's about like freedom and liberty, to like be having these wars where it's all about pretty much just adding more land to the country. But President Polk didn't really care. He was interested in Manifest Destiny. He wanted to make it to the coast and add as much land as he could. Why did so many America support the war at the time? Well, now it's this word that we're going to be learning today. It is in large part due to the popularity of an idea known as Manifest Destiny. If there's anything that you should be writing down on paper in this distance learning, it's Manifest Destiny. What is Manifest Destiny? Well, Manifest Destiny is the belief that American expansion was both justified, meaning morally right, and inevitable, that it was going to happen anyway. So it was the belief that America should be trying to take up as much land as it can in North America, that it was America's destiny to become this very powerful country that was going from sea to shining sea, just like the song. And this is a very famous painting showing a symbolic representation of manifest destiny. And it's the idea on the right side of the painting, you have what's supposed to be the American settlers bringing technology and prosperity and civilization across the West. It's like they're bringing light across to darkness. It's a very settler-centric cartoon. See, of course, how some people are not included in this plan, like the Native Americans are being pushed off. So Manifest Destiny is very much just centered on the white American settlers, not really caring about other people, especially the Native Americans, as they kind of get pushed off. And the same thing with other countries as well. America is going to threaten to go to war against Britain again for the Oregon Territory, and it's going to go to war against Mexico for the southwest region of what is now the southwestern United States. But this image, when you see it, it should always make you think Manifest Destiny. It's the idea that America is right to go and try to take over as much land as it can, and it's going to happen anyway, so we might as well do it. So Manifest Destiny was the motivation behind land expansion, like the Mexican Cession and the Oregon Treaty, which I just mentioned, and the Gadsden Purchase, the final purchase in the contiguous United States. And this makes the United States a land from sea to shining sea. So the map you see now, that map is finished in the 1850s. That is when America gets all this land. The puzzle is finally put together. The only two more states to add, Hawaii and Alaska, and that'll be in 8th grade. But that sums up our content for the day. Now, it's Friday, fun segment of the day, memes of the day. So our first one, trying to keep them quarantine themed. First one, due to less air pollution, because no one's doing anything right now, very little driving. Due to less air pollution, we can now see the Universal Studios logo in the sky. This might totally miss with some of you, but if you've seen the Universal logo, or it has the Universal logo in front of the Earth, well, apparently now it's visible if you look out your window. Take a look. You'll see the Universal logo. Meme 2, that one coworker that streams. I have to admit this one made me laugh because I have to admit with my technology and my very high-powered computing power, I am most like the person on the top right, as some of your teachers may know. I have my special webcam with my 2 monitors set up in my gaming computer, so that gives me an advantage in these Google Meet and Zoom meetings. That's right. And finally, I'm going to end the day with some quarantine-themed poetry. Roses are red, I sing with good vocals, police hunt man dressed as 17th century plague doctor who's been terrifying locals. I still don't know which is more terrifying, the person in the plague doctor costume or the person in the unicorn costume. I think in both cases I would call the police. I still think the unicorn's a little scarier, just because of the whole lack of context, and at least this person's wearing a face covering. You can count on plague doctors for that. That is Friday's show. There is going to be no show on Monday because you have another video assignment, and that one's going to be very cool. It's focusing on the Oregon Trail. Remember, we have Oregon now. Now it's time to learn about the Oregon Trail, and then we can play the game on Tuesday and Wednesday and going forward. So this is Mr. LEPRE signing off for the weekend. Have a good one.